Welcome back, history enthusiasts. I'm Hari.
And I'm Kimi. Today we're diving deep into a mind-bogglingly intense clash from 240 BC, Hamilcar Barca's defeat of Spendius and Autaritus. This is a story of betrayal, war elephants, and a conflict so savage that contemporary historian Polybius literally dubbed it the Truceless War.
That's right. To understand how we got to this battle in northwest Tunisia, we have to look at the aftermath of the First Punic War. Carthage had just lost to Rome in 241 BC after 23 years of brutal fighting. During that war, a Carthaginian general named Hanno had expanded Carthage's African territory all the way to Thevest, which is modern Tebessa in Algeria.
And Hanno squeezed those newly conquered lands dry to fund the war effort. We're talking about taking half of all agricultural output as a war tax and doubling the tribute of all towns. This created a massive powder keg of resentment just waiting for a spark.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Carthage had to evacuate 20,000 soldiers from Sicily. A deputy named Gisco tried to send them back in small regional groups, expecting them to be paid and sent on their way. Instead, the Carthaginian Senate tried to cheap out, delaying payment to negotiate a lower rate. They sent the troops to Sicca Veneria, modern El Keth, where the men grew frustrated and marched right back to Tunis, just 16 kilometers from Carthage.
The Senate panicked and agreed to pay, but the mutinous troops realized they had leverage and demanded even more. Gisco arrived with enough treasury to pay most of it, but a riot broke out. Loyalists were stoned, Gisco was taken prisoner, and the treasury was seized. The rebels elected Spendius, an escaped Roman slave who faced torture if recaptured, and Mathos, a Berber leader, as their generals.
Soon, 70,000 more men joined the rebellion, and the mercenary war began. Carthage's existence was on the line. Now, people often call these rebel forces mercenaries, but historian Adrian Goldsworthy notes that's a gross oversimplification. They were highly disciplined allied troops, including close-order Libyan infantry, fierce Gauls under Autaritus, and Balearic slingers. Carthage relied heavily on these foreigners, plus their famous North African forest elephants.
Carthage first sent Hanno to deal with them, but he was defeated at Utica and showed general incompetence. So Carthage raised a new army of 10,000 men, including citizen militia and 70 elephants under Hamilcar Barca. Hamilcar immediately won a complex victory at the Bagratis River, but was then forced into a joint command with Hanno. Unsurprisingly, the two generals didn't cooperate at all.
While Hanno went north, Hamilcar tackled rebel-held towns. He was shadowed by a superior rebel force of 25,000 led by Spendius and Autaritus. Because Spendius feared Hamilcar's cavalry and elephants on flat ground, he kept his troops on higher, rugged terrain, constantly harassing Hamilcar's foragers in a grueling war of attrition.
This game of cat and mouse led to our main event. During these maneuvers, Hamilcar's army of up to 15,000 men became completely trapped in a mountain valley. Modern historians still argue about the exact location, proposing sites near Tunis, Grumbalia, or Souk el Jama. Spendius blocked the valley exit, while Numidian cavalry blocked the rear. The Carthaginians faced certain starvation.
Enter the ultimate plot twist. The commander of the Numidian cavalry blocking the rear was a young noble named Neravus. Although many Numidians hated Carthage, Neravus's clan had family ties there, and he deeply admired Hamilcar's military skill. Neravus walked into the Carthaginian camp completely unarmed and alone to negotiate. Hamilcar trusted him so much, he promised him his daughter's hand in marriage if he defected.
And Neravus did. He brought his 2,000 cavalry over to the Carthaginian side, opening up Hamilcar's retreat route and skyrocketing Carthaginian morale. Hamilcar immediately deployed his forces. Spendius, rather than attacking from two directions, as historian Dexter Hoyos suggests he should have, combined his forces because he didn't trust his inexperienced Libyan troops to maneuver independently.
The battle was hard-fought, but Carthage's war elephants and the newly acquired Numidian cavalry proved decisive. The rebels were heavily defeated, losing around 10,000 killed and 4,000 captured. Spendius and Autaritus managed to escape to Hippo, but their army was shattered.
This is where the story takes a tragic, incredibly dark turn. Hamilcar had been treating prisoners leniently, offering them a choice to join his army or go home. Spendius, fearing his remaining men would desert for these generous terms, decided to eliminate any hope of peace. He and Autaritus tortured 700 Carthaginian prisoners to death, including Gisco. They cut off their hands, broke their legs, and buried them alive.
In absolute rage, Carthage retaliated by executing all their prisoners, often having them trampled to death by war elephants. From that point on, both sides showed absolutely zero mercy. The extreme ferocity of the fighting is why Polybius called it the Truceless War. The war dragged on to a grim climax. Hamilcar eventually pinned 40,000 rebels in a pass known as the Saw. The trapped rebels ran completely out of food, eating their horses, their prisoners, and eventually their own slaves. Hamilcar captured Spendius during a parley and had his elephants and army massacre the leaderless, starving rebel forces to a man.
During the subsequent siege of Tunis, Hamilcar crucified Spendius in full view of the walls. But the rebels launched a devastating night counterattack, capturing Hamilcar's deputy Hannibal and 30 notables, and crucifying them on the very same crosses.
Ultimately, the rebels were crushed for good at the Battle of Leptis Parva. Mathos was captured, dragged through the streets of Carthage, and tortured to death. The remaining rebellious cities, Utica and Hippo, surrendered shortly after in late 238 or early 237 BC, ending one of the most horrific conflicts of the ancient world.
It's an incredible, dark history. We hope you found this deep dive into the ancient world as fascinating as we did. Thank you all so much for listening.
This episode is based on the Wikipedia article Hamilcar's Defeat of Spendius and Autaritus, which is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license. This podcast was crafted using artificial intelligence.